Welcome, yogis. Today's class is all about twisting and some hip opening stuff. I think twists are a great way to reconnect with your midsection, right? They always leave me feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, kind of cleansed and wrung out, so to speak. So hopefully you'll be feeling good after this class. 2 blocks is always a good thing to have nearby. If you don't have them, no worries. And that's about it. We'll see you on the mat. Today's practice will start on your belly. Make your way down, stack your palms, and take your elbows wide to the sides. And then you'll make little adjustments. If your back is feeling hunched, widening your elbows may help with that. And then I'll also invite you to try working with some external rotation. That means taking your legs a little bit wider and then turning your toes out and the heels in. Once you get yourself settled, relax. Soften your weight into the earth. Begin by taking in your environment. Notice the sounds and sensations surrounding you. Listen for the sound of your breath, how it echoes off the floor beneath you. Notice where the breath travels within the body. Feel for the sensations the breath creates. Are there any areas of your body that need a little bit more attention today? Feel how your back moves as your breath expands into the floor. And then we'll take the right knee up towards the right elbow. Your left leg can come back towards a neutral position, aiming straight back if that's more comfortable. And then again, once you get situated, just relax. Feel for the shift in sensation. As you breathe, where does the breath go now? Feel around for gripping in your shoulders or in your hips. Take an extra exhale to drop away your effort. Extend your right leg long. And we'll switch sides. Left knee slide up towards the left elbow. Setting up your half frog on the other side. For now, all you're doing is getting heavy in the body by releasing effort, while at the same time releasing any grip on thought. Whatever is going on today, whatever you've been through, whatever the mind is holding on to, trust that if it's important, it will be there for you when you're done. But for now, Just commit to this choice to step away, to step onto your mat and into your personal practice. And slide the left leg long down the mat. Bring your hands by your ribs and press back to child's pose. Toes together and knees wide for this one. Allow your forehead to come down. If it doesn't reach the floor, you can stack your palms or even make a fist or two in the hands and just figuring out a stack that will allow your head to rest. Now initially, let's add activity into this pose. Keep your arms straight. Press your hands into the ground as you send your sits bones back and down towards your heels. And you'll expand your breath into your back. Encourage a lift of your navel, and with that, an exaggerated rounding of your spine. Breathe and fill the space between the vertebrae. Imagine yourself sort of inflating that back spine. Take one more breath with activity. And then relax and soften. Notice the shift. Just a few breaths here. Walk your hands back towards your knees. Find yourself in a Virasana, hero's pose. Your thighs will come together. You'll sit up tall right on top of your heels. And just be mindful if your heels are spilling out to the side that you plug those back in so you're more neutral in your ankle. Stack your rib cage right on top of your pelvis. And then we'll take the back of the left hand outside the right knee. Right arm will reach back behind you. If this grip in the hand feels a little bit awkward, you can flip and hold on to your knee instead and get a little bit more pull and rotation. Reach beyond your right fingers and see how much you can spiral open. Couple more full cycles of breath. Gently release back to center, and we'll set up the other side. Inhale for length. Exhale, take the back of your right hand outside the knee, left arm behind. And again, if it feels better to flip your hand and hold on to your knee, then you might try that. With this variation, you can feel the work in the right rotator cuff muscles as you pull. Bend the elbow and use the strength of your arm and back. If you aren't already, try to spiral your gaze past your left fingers, adding a bit of a neck stretch. Now, because we're not binding the elbow, there's less arm strength helping us out. So we need to use more of the squeeze together of the inner thighs, as well as the strength through our core, which is the entire midsection. And slowly bring it back to center. Tuck your toes under as your hands come forward and make your way to a forward fold at the back of your mat. This forward fold can look different. If you're feeling some resistance in the back line of the legs, then ease into it. Keep your knees bent and hang more in a ragdoll. If you are feeling more awake in the legs today, or at this point in the day, you'll try straightening your legs out and making this fold a little bit more active. The most important thing is to check in with yourself and be where you are. Last few breaths. Let your arms drape down and heel toe your feet together to touch. Little space between your heels, chair pose. So as you initially get set up, feel around, spread your toes, deep bend in the knees, and then just a little shift back in your weight. Feel the weight towards your heels to help fire on the back line of your legs. Bring your hands down to your heart. Continue to squeeze your legs together. And then we'll again take the back of the left hand outside the right knee and reach your right arm behind you. Roll your right shoulder down and away from your ear. Your breath is helping you to inhale, create space. Exhale to spiral into it. Breathe in, sweep your arms up, stand up, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Once again, chair pose. Sink low and extend your arms. Spread your toes. Shift your weight back and bring your hands to your heart. Guide your right hand outside your right knee, left arm behind to twist. Use your breath as an assist. Sweep your arms forward and up, straighten the legs, reach up. And hands to heart. Find something to look at, just a little moment of balance here. Weight will come into your left foot as your right knee comes into your chest. Take a moment to hold the balance, and then step your right foot way forward, lower your back knee, and find low lunge. Arms extend up and overhead. Find your sweet spot in the lunge, always balancing the depth with lift of the front of your pelvis. One more full inhale. Exhale, the hands float down to the mat. Lift your back knee, bring your fingertips forward of your front foot. You might use blocks here. And then we'll shift to a supported warrior 3. The work here is finding our Tadasana, mountain pose in the floating body from head to heel. Extend your heel back. Get your shoulder blades in a neutral spot on your back. So likely they're rounding, they're protracting, they are pulling away from one another. So instead, we want to slightly retract, draw them together, and depress, bring them down the back. If your chest is lower than parallel to the ground, then the leg tries to get a little higher than parallel. Square your left hip down towards the floor a little more than you think you should, and engage your inner thighs. Maintain this shape as you slowly step to a lunge. Bend your standing leg, reach your left toes back and land. Sweep your arms forward for extended runners. Right outer hip rolls back. If there's some sagging out in the hip, that's typically an indication of weakness in your glute med. So we're trying to hug in towards midline to help with that. Squeeze your butt. Take another full inhale. Exhale, hands float down to the mat and simply step to downward facing dog. As always, take what you need here. So that could be pedaling out, or perhaps it is stillness. Walk your hands to your feet. Find your forward fold at the back of your mat. This time we'll take Yogi Toe Lock. So that's peace fingers hooking around your big toes, and they're weaving between the toes so you get nice good grip. Inhale, extend for length. Exhale, bow forward. Now do your best to pull on your toes. Engage your arms. Feel the biceps engage. And at the same time, shoulder blades draw down your back towards your waistline. Everything is active in your back body. Pump your breath. Lift through your navel and see if that helps lengthen the crown of your head towards the floor a bit more. Release your toes. Bring your feet once again together with a little space between your heels. Sink low, chair pose. Squeeze in towards midline. Sink back and down with the legs. Extend through your arms. Inhale, stand up, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Find your place to look at. Shift your weight into your right foot. The left knee will draw in towards your chest. And then it's a big step forward. Lower your back knee. And once again, low lunge, arms to sky. Test out your lunge and find the sweet spot. Breathe in, lift up. Breathe out, hands to mat. Lift your back knee, shift your hands forward of your front foot, and rise to supported warrior 3. Square your right hip towards the ground and engage your inner thighs. If you're not sure what your back leg is doing, you might peek under the pose and make sure it is in fact a straight line back. Oftentimes the leg likes to wing out to the side, so you just take a peek. Shoulder blades draw down the back and slightly together. Not so much to squeeze the pencil, right? But just enough so that we're not rounded forward. Be aware of where your body is in space. A little proprioception here. If it feels like your chest is below parallel to the ground, hike your right leg a little higher than parallel. Lengthen from the back of your neck and tone your belly. Now slowly to runner's lunge, keep the shape. Bend your standing knee for 3, 2, and 1. Engage, hug in towards midline. Extend your arms forward for extended runners. Bicep by your ears. Lift your navel. Lengthen from your back body while lifting your arms. Take a full breath in. Exhale, hands to mat. Step back to plank. Now you decide. If your spine is ready for up dog, you'll come through chaturanga. Otherwise, you can come all the way to your belly, move through your low cobra pose, and then it's up and back. Downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths. And then it's a walk forward to the top of your mat. Breathe in, flat back. Breathe out, bow forward. Rise up, sweep your arms overhead. And hands float to your heart. All right, we're going to work through a moon salutation. The first cycle will go a little bit slower, hold each posture and build in the muscle memory. And then we'll do a few rounds, more breath by breath, and hopefully get into more of a fluid state. On a breath in, extend your arms high. We'll interlace the fingers, cross the thumbs, and let your index finger release. Lengthen upwards, breathe in. Side bend to the right. Breathe out. Come on back up through center. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale to the left. Rise back up through center. Hands to heart. Step your right foot way back and set up goddess pose. Heels in, toes out, and arms in a field goal position. Now be mindful that the tendency here is to sink in, to cave in the arches of the feet and the knees kind of sagging, which is no good. So instead, we're mindful of keeping some weight towards the razor edge of the feet. That way we'll crop up or lift through the arches of the feet. And then this extra work in the glute to, again, peel the knees open. Now just for this round, inhale, straighten the arms, straighten the legs, reach up. Exhale, pull down. Keep tracking your knees wide towards the pinky toes. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, sink low. Last time, reach up. Exhale, pull down. Now straighten your legs, reach your arms wide left and right. Turn your left toes in, your right toes out, and we'll take triangle to the back of your mat. Reach to the back as far as you can, and then the right hand will float down, the left arm high. Now sometimes in this pose, I'll cue you to drop your top hip to get into the hamstring more. Today, I want you to try rolling your left hip open, but at the same time, spiraling your right kneecap towards your pinky toe. Feel the stretch in your outer hip and slide body. And you might spiral your gaze towards the sky for an added challenge on the balance. Take a full breath in. Exhale, hands frame your back foot. Let your back heel lift and take a pyramid pose at the back of your mat. Inhale, extend your spine, square your hips, right hip back, left hip forward, and bow forward over your leg. Bend your front knee. Lower your back knee down and take a low lunge, arms high overhead. One more full inhale. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Lift your back knee and you'll pivot to a Skandasana with your back knee bent, left leg straight for now. The toes can turn up if you have the mobility for it. Otherwise, stay with the feet grounded, hips a little higher. We'll take one pivot through to the top of the mat. Shift to runner's lunge and lower your back knee. Inhale, arms high. Settle into your lunge. Couple breaths for this round. Float your hands down to frame your front foot. Straighten both legs. Pyramid pose. All 10 toes are tracking forward to the top of your mat. If you needed to shorten your stance a little bit, feel free. And work with another lengthen. Draw your left hip back, right hip forward, and then bow forward a little deeper. Spiral your back heel in. Left hand to leg, floor, or block, and right arm to the sky for triangle. So a slightly different entry this time. Again, instead of rolling your right hip down, we're trying to open the hips without injuring the knee to do it, right? So we want to keep the knee in a healthy place, spiral it towards the pinky toe while working the lift and opening of your top hip. Consider reaching or shifting your gaze rather forward and up towards your top hand, challenging your balance. On a breath out, rise to stand. Pivot your heels in, toes out, come down to a goddess pose. And now again, for this round only, we'll extend through the legs, extend through the arms, reach up. Exhale, pull down, keep your knees wide, toes spread. Again, inhale, lengthen, reach. Exhale, pull. Last time, inhale, reach up. Exhale, pull down. Now take your hands to your heart, launch off your back foot, and make your way to the top of your mat. All right, so that's one cycle through. We'll take it again, stepping back this time at the left foot, but trying to move a little bit more breath by breath. If you needed to use your blocks for parts of this sequence, I'd recommend having a block towards the top of your mat and a block towards the back of your mat so that this sequence is a little bit more fluid. You may also opt for using shins and body parts, just kind of keeping yourself a little more lifted so you don't have to deal with all the negotiation of the props. All right, friends. Inhale, extend your arms high. Interlace your fingers, cross your thumbs, index finger releases. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out to the right, side bend. Inhale, right back up to center and to the left, side bend. Come back up to center, hands to heart. Step your left foot way back, goddess pose. One time, squat low. Straighten the legs, straighten your arms wide. Turn your right toes in, your left toes out. Reach to the back of your mat and find your triangle. Left hand down, right arm high. Full breath in. Exhale, pyramid. Square and frame your your back foot towards the back of your mat. Full breath in. Lower your back knee down. Inhale, low lunge. One breath, arms up. Breath out, hands come right back to the mat. Lift your back knee and pivot to Skandasana. Shift through the middle, bending through your right knee. Pivot, runner's lunge at the top of your mat and its back knee down. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, take the hands down. Straighten both of your legs, pyramid pose. Shorten if necessary. Spin your back heel in. Right hand to shin, left arm to sky, triangle pose. Exhale, upright the posture, goddess, one time, squat down. Hands to heart as you launch forward to the top of your mat. All right, we'll try it one more time on each side with that same pace. Inhale, sweep high to sky. Interlace your fingers, thumb and index release. Lengthen, breathe in. Side bend to the right. Come up through center. Side bend to the left. Back up through center, hands to heart. Step your right foot way back, goddess pose. Squat low. Straighten your arms and legs wide. Pivot your left toes in, your right toes out. Triangle to the back of the mat. One full breath in. Pyramid pose at the back of your mat. Pivot your left foot. Lengthen, inhale. Lower your back knee down. Low lunge. Inhale, sweep high. Exhale, hands to mat. Pick up your back knee. Pivot to Skandasana. Come through center. Skandasana at the top. Shift to runner's lunge. Lower your back knee. Low lunge. Arms up. Exhale, hands to mat. Pyramid pose. Straighten both of your legs and shorten if you need to. Inhale, lengthen. Pivot your right foot in, left hand to shin, right arm high, triangle pose. Exhale, rise up, find goddess, heels in, toes out, squat low. Hands to heart as you launch forward, top of the mat. One more cycle through, arms to sky, interlace fingers, thumb and index release, lengthen, inhale, side bend to the right. Inhale to center, side bend to the left. Inhale to center, hands to heart, Left foot way back, goddess pose, squat low. Straighten the legs, arms reach wide. Right toes in, left toes out. Reach to the back of the mat, triangle pose. Full breath in. Pyramid pose, frame your back foot, pivot your right toes. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lower your back knee down. Inhale, arms up, low lunge. Exhale, hands to mat. Lift your back knee. Pivot to Skandasana. Come through center, Skandasana at the top of the mat. Shift to runners. Lower your back knee. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to mat. Straighten both of your legs. Shorten your stance if necessary. Pivot your left shin, or left foot in rather. Right hand to shin, left arm to sky, triangle pose. Exhale, rise up, goddess, squat one time. Hands to heart, top of the mat. Inhale, arms to sky. Exhale, bow forward and fold. Half lift, breathe in. Put your hands, step or jump, chaturanga. Inhale, up face. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 to 5 breaths. If you need to drop your knees for child's pose or take a sip of water, now's a great time. Now let's try shortening our down dog a bit, making it so the heels are on the ground or at least closer to it. And then we'll reach the left arm underneath the body over towards the right outer leg. So that could be your calf, your ankle, maybe even your heel. Look under your right arm and twist. Continue to push through your right hand. Maintain length. And we'll gently switch sides. This time the left hand comes back down. The right hand will reach across for the outer left leg, the ankle or the heel. Peek under your left arm. Spiral your chest. Release your right hand. Adjust your down dog to get back to that longer stance. And then it's a breath in, right leg to sky, 3-leg dog. Be mindful of keeping your right hip square towards the ground. Extend through the side waist, through your armpit, through your forearm. Take an inhale. Draw your knee to your chest. Step your foot between your hands for runner's lunge. Tent your left fingers and peel your right arm high to twist. Extend the lunge in opposite directions. Left heel back, right knee forward. On an exhale, windmill up and open to warrior 2. Ground through your feet, pushing both into the earth. Guide your right knee forward and slightly wide. Take your right hand to your inner right knee, your left hand to the ridge of your pelvis in the back. And so what we're trying to do is maintain the place in space where the knee is while peeling the left hip back, opening up the pelvis. But if we prioritize that back hip and try to square the frontal hip bones to the side, our knee does crazy things. So the work is keeping the anchor and then peeling the back hip open, right? Opening up through the pelvis from a safe place. Maintain all this nice work. Release your arms. Flip your front palm, take a reverse. Windmill your hands all the way down to frame your foot. 3-leg dog. Sweep your right leg up and back. Now again, take your knee to your chest. Step your foot between your hands. This time, warrior 1. Back heel down and the arms extend high. So your back foot is loosely at a 45-degree angle. This is more of a forward-facing posture, but again, we've got an anchor, which in this case is the back foot. Razor edge of the back foot is anchored, the heel is anchored, and then there's a spiral happening. If we over-prioritize aiming everything forward, the back leg sometimes does crazy things, right? The back knee bends, the ankle gets weird and lifted. So we want to keep the back leg straight and active, pressing down, and then whatever spiral comes from there comes. Now, maintain your warrior 1 feet. Just bring your hands down to the mat. Straighten your front leg. This is where you may want a block underneath your left hand. Otherwise, tented fingers, or your left hand can tent right on top of your right foot. Squeeze your inner thighs together, engage your legs, and take your right hand to your hip. Roll your chest to the right to twist, and you might float your right arm to the sky. You could try spiraling your gaze towards the sky as well. That will make the balance more challenging, so stay grounded in your feet. Hug your thighs in, squeeze your glutes. Think a little bit about upward facing dog in your chest. We'll take one more breath in. Breath out, hands come down to frame your foot. Shift to runner's lunge, and we'll flow it out. Step back to plank. Come down through chaturanga. Upward facing dog. And back to downward facing dog. 3 to 5 breaths. On an inhale, fly your left leg up and back behind you. Now again, we're squaring the hip down, lifting the rib cage, but melting through the armpits. Take your knee to your chest. Place your foot between your hands, runner's lunge. Tent your right fingers and take your left arm high to twist. Still engaging towards midline, knee and heel extending in opposite directions. On an exhale, windmill open, warrior 2. So set up the feet first. Take your left hand inside your left knee, your right fingers to the ridge of the back of your hip, and then you're pulling. Press the knee wide and pull the hips and pelvis open. Stay grounded through your feet. Squeeze your glute and think of scooping your hip underneath the pose. And if all is well, open your wingspan. Check out that front knee and thigh bone, always making sure it's in the same place. And if your toes have turned in, it's a good indication that your knee is likely doing the same. So start with the foot, let the knee follow suit. Flip your front palm, reverse. Windmill down, sweep it back, 3-leg dog. Once again, knee to chest. Step your foot between your hands, warrior 1. Ground your back heel and extend high. So again here, if we're prioritizing the twist, the knee does odd things, the heel will lift, and we might get pain in different spots in the back leg. No pain. The stretch sensation is broad and widespread. Pain sensation is typically sharp and pinpointed. So acknowledge what it is that you're experiencing. For that broad, wide sensation, be with that. You are building strength. Straighten your front leg. Bring your hands down and keep your back heel grounded. Now again, if you need a block, you'll take that underneath your right hand. Otherwise, it's attented right fingers, either inside your foot or on top of your left foot. Squeeze your thighs in, engage your glutes, and take your left hand to your hip. Roll your left shoulder open. Start the twist. If and when you're ready, left arm to the sky. Wrap your left hip back towards the back edge of your mat and see about spiraling the gaze perhaps towards the sky. Float your hands back down to the mat. Bend your front knee, pivoting to runners. Step back to plank, and then it's chaturanga. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Three breaths. Inhale, right leg to sky, sweep it up. Take knee to chest, step your foot forward, warrior one. So again, your back heel will ground, your arms extend, and with that is a lift of the rib cage. Take your hands down to your heart. Now set your gaze at something to help with balance. We'll shift the weight towards the front foot and try coming right into a tree pose. Do your best to find your place without an assist first. Then, if you want a little help, reach down for your ankle and give it a hoist up. Press foot into leg and vice versa. Now with this pose, our anchor is the frontal hip bones aiming forward. Secondary is trying to peel the left knee wide. Now we've done a lot of work to open the hip, to stretch the inner thigh. So this may feel a little different, but always prioritize the hips forward. Now if you'd like, you can try reaching your arms overhead, and again, feel how that lengthen, that extension up creates more length in your side waist. Squeeze your glutes to press your hips forward. Try to flatten out at the front of the hip. From all the sitting we spend in our lifestyle, kind of doing different things, whether that be working or leisure, we're tightening up hip flexors and psoas, that muscle that connects to low spine, runs forward and over the pelvis, and hooks into the leg. So we want that to lengthen, right? This is a way to help do that. Now slowly step your left foot back, come back to a warrior one. This time float your hands down to your heart. We'll come right into a figure four. Left ankle past the right knee, squat low. Now you're welcome to stay here. If you'd like to try Ballerina Pose, we'll take the left hand on top of the arch of the left foot, thumb towards your heel, right hand to hip. As you stand up, kick the leg wide. And then you can work into a back bend by bending your standing leg, lift the heart, and start to arc back. Slowly take it to mountain pose, 2 feet to the floor. Roll out the ankles a little bit. All right. Inhale, extend your arms up. Exhale, hinge and fold forward. Flat back, hands to mat. Step your left foot way back, runner's lunge. Now we'll pivot to Skandasana at the back of the mat. left knee bent, right leg straight. And then we'll see about coming to sit down. So if this posture is making you sit with a rounded spine, then instead of keeping your foot on the ground with your knee bent, I'll just have you let the knee drop wide and bring your foot to your inner thigh. We're moving into a side bend, so if you're taking this expression, your right hand will come to your knee, you'll reach up with the left arm and side bend. If you're sticking with the variation with your foot on the floor, instead your right hand will come to your shin and ankle, lengthen through the left side, and here we go, side bend. Now you may or may not reach your foot. Doesn't matter either way. Just feel that you're reaching and lengthening your left side body. And it could be a little bit of a spiral, gaze towards the sky. Exhale, rise back up. Now place the foot back on the floor with the knee bent. For bonus points, see if without hands you can come back up. Of course, if you need the hands, use them. And then shift back forward to runner's lunge at the top of your mat. Ground your hands, step your right foot back to plank, flow through if you choose. We meet in dog. 3 breaths. Inhale, left leg to sky. Take your knee forward, step your foot through, warrior 1. Set yourself up, grounding through your feet, spread your toes. Remembering when it comes to balance, sometimes the tendency is to scrunch up the foot as if you could hold on to the ground, but you're better off spreading as wide as you can, taking up more surface area, and then starting to build the intelligence in your foot to help you balance. Take your hands down to your heart, and you'll prepare your shift forward to tree pose. See where you can get the foot first without help. Once you're situated, reach down if you like, and get your foot where you want it. Now here, we remember again, frontal hip bones aim forward. The knee is trying to open wide as our secondary effort. We're pressing the foot into the leg and vice versa, but there can also be an element of using your foot to spiral your inner thigh back. This is creating a little bit of internal rotation in your standing leg. If you're feeling ready for it, you could reach your arms up to grow your tree. Squeeze your glutes and press your frontal hip bones forward. Slowly step your right foot back, warrior 1. Once again, the hands will come to your heart. Shift your weight forward, figure 4, ankle past the knee. So again, this is a good place to stay if you want to work the hip opener. You could float your hands down to the ground, use your blocks, or just stay in the balance. Otherwise, for ballerina pose, take your left hand to your hip, right hand to the top of your foot, thumb towards your heel, so right on the arch. As you stand up, kick wide. And then you can play with this by bending your standing leg, lifting through the chest, and adding a little back bend. Gently come out, 2 feet to floor for mountain pose. Roll out the ankles a little bit, pedal out the legs. All right. Inhale, arms to sky, sweep it up. Exhale, hinge and fold. Halfway lift, send your right foot back to runner's lunge. Pivot to Skandasana at the back of your mat, right knee bent, left leg straight. and then we'll sit down. So mirror whatever you did on the first side, either the foot and thigh connected with the knee dropped wide, or we'll stick with the foot on the floor. Take your left hand either to your knee or to your shin. Right arm high to sky, breathe in. Side bend to the right, breathe out. To the left, breathe out. Again, if you can grab your foot, feel free to hold on to it, but no pressure to get there. Spiral your heart towards the sky and breathe big. Rise back up to center. Now again, bonus points, hands to heart. See if you can get up without the help of the hands. Otherwise, you use your hands. Shift forward, back to runners at the top of your mat. Step your left foot back to plank and flow it through if you choose. Lower your knees down to the mat and come to sit back. Okay, we're going to set up a full frog pose. If you have a blanket, you could always use that underneath your knees. It will also help you to slide a little bit easier, as well as adding cushion. Another way to do this is rolling long edge of your mat over once or twice and giving yourself a little bit of padding that way. Once you've got yourself set up, you're going to kneel on the cushiony part. Take your hands out in front and work your knees wide. So you see where this could be useful with blanket so that it will slide a little bit easier, but this is still doable. The goal is to get your shin and thigh bone as a 90-degree angle. Flex your ankle to help you get that external rotation and find your sweet spot. You'll lower down on forearms if that's working for you. And then you might do a little bit of shifting forward and back to, again, find the sweet spot. Look for a place of sensation. For those of us that are still a bit more lifted off the ground, just be careful of sagging too much into a back bend. Try to lift your belly and keep the spine more neutral. Now, for some of us, this posture feels great. For others, not so great. Our hip sockets, hip joints are built very, very differently, right? There's all kinds of variations. So for some, this is going to feel good just because of the shape of your hip socket. So if this pose doesn't feel so good, just be where you are. Don't try to get into a crazy deep sensation or a deep expression if it's not feeling good. Find what deep is for you and be in that place. In hip opening postures, there is an element of gripping that goes on, not only physically, but also emotionally. Our hips is where that fight, flight, or freeze response lives. So sometimes when we're here, we need to close the eyes, focus on breath, and let the body be invited into a deeper expression. What can you let go of? Just a few more moments here. As we think about coming out, we want to go really slow. You can bring your hands back to the ground, bring your heels in a couple inches, and then your knees in a couple inches. Heels in, knees in, heels in, knees in. Let your mat go if it's rolled up. And then you might like taking a little cat-cow motions, swaying the hips side to side, or circling out just to get some movement in the hip joint. When you're ready, we'll sit back and set up a wide leg fold. So the legs will come out into a wide expression first. Encourage yourself a little bit deeper if you can. And then we start with activity, rolling the knees out, toes out. But in this same conversation of hip joints being unique and different, we want to let those function the way that they want to. So as you start to round forward, you'll notice in my body, when I start to come forward, as much as I'm activating and externally rotating, there's still a rolling that happens. Let that be, right? Try not to fight that. Just let it happen, but keep your legs active. So go ahead and lower down. If you do have your blocks handy, you could always use those either underneath the rib cage, I think feels really nice, or a combination of that and one under your head. Again, the more that you can encourage the body to relax, the better. Start to slowly walk yourself back upright. We'll take the hands underneath the knees to help them come to bend. And then we'll bring the legs together, ultimately aiming towards the top of the mat. Take your feet wide with your hands behind you and just do a little draping side to side. Windshield wiping the knees. All right, when you're ready, the legs will go long down the mat. Sit up tall and walk your sits bones backwards a few steps. Lengthen and walk forward to fold. Bring yourself back up to a seat. Knees bend with your feet on the mat. Bring your hands behind you with your fingers aiming towards the top of your mat. And we'll set up reverse table. Spread your toes. Press through your hands to extend upward, but then sink your sternum a touch. Press through your feet to scoop your hips up. Press through your hands and choose either chin to chest, or you might drop your head all the way back. Just a few moments here, breathe. And come on down. Take your hands now behind your thighs and help yourself onto your back. Roll your spine to the earth. If you need a few more windshield wipes to massage out the low back and hips, feel free to take it. And then we'll find back stillness. Send your left leg straight up to the sky. Drape your left leg over your right leg like eagle legs. Lift your hips and send them to the left and drop your legs to the right. If this twist is too intense, feel free to unwrap the legs and take a stack knee twist instead. The arms will open wide into a T. And for added neck stretch, lift your head, look left, and put your head back down. Feel where your breath is going. Expand it from pelvic bowl to the collarbones. Begin to come back to center. Unravel your legs. Square off your hips. And then it's the right leg straight to sky. Cross and drape it over the left leg. Lift your hips and send them right. And drop your knees to the left. Same deal. If this side is feeling a little bit too tight with the bound legs, then just unwrap them. Do be aware that if your shoulder is hovering like mine is here, there's no real issue with that. Right? This will just give you a little extra stretch in your chest and pec. If it doesn't feel good, that's a different story. We can put a fist underneath the right knee to help get the knees a little more lifted, the chest a little bit more flat and open. If you had a block handy, that could also be used underneath your knee to do the same thing. Now try lifting your head, looking right, and putting your head back down. Slowly bring it back to center. Unravel. Again, if you need windshield wipes, go for it. Ultimately, you'll take both knees into your chest, squeeze them so much that your low back lifts away from the floor. And then extend your legs long. Take up plenty of space, maybe even your heels off the edges of your mat, arms wide or even overhead to take up an X shape in the body. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the ground. And acknowledge what this expression feels like. One that is open, in a way vulnerable and exposed. We can gain a lot from vulnerability. Maybe as you rest, you sit with that question. What can you gain from being vulnerable? Now I encourage you to stay here and rest, taking as long as you like to reset, come back to center. Thank you so much for tuning in. Namaste.